Welcome back, everyone, to Pencils and Lipstick. I'm Kat Caldwell, and today is February 5th, and this is episode 216. And we are going to talk about marketing today, specifically about social media and the graphics and the all the things that we have to do posting consistently. And if you're already getting hives, I understand. But more than giving you tips and tricks, which are lovely and great, I am going to be talking with Kathleen Sweeney of Bookbrush, and we're going to talk about how Bookbrush can do the things for you. Now, I know that doing things for you is not for everyone, right? But Bookbrush is a great place to start if you want to do it yourself. They have their software is created for you to do your whole DIY social media, A plus graphic content. You can do your book covers there. You can create a lot of things on Bookbrush. It's like Canva for authors times 20. It's a great place to check out. And I pretty much recommend it to everyone. Now, as we know, it's 2024 and social media is not going away. In fact, they keep creating new ones. And while they all said Twitter was going to collapse, it still hasn't, as far as I know. And TikTok is even more relevant, despite many people wanting to cancel it. And Instagram and Facebook somehow are still here. And the kids are doing the Snap, but very few of us can market on there. Let me know if I'm wrong on that one. But social media is not going away. The internet's not going to go away. And you need to figure out graphics and graphic content. And so I want to bring to you guys always the options that are out there, specifically options that are created for authors, because our business is a little bit different than everyone else's, right? It is a creative entrepreneurial endeavor. And I think it's great that a lot of these businesses are creating things specifically for us, with us in mind, and they understand all the things that go into selling a book. And it's not just selling your book, it's telling people about who you are and about your characters and about um, where you live and why you got the idea and the things that are coming up and where they can find your newsletter. And it's a lot. I personally have gotten a little overwhelmed with it. And just as a disclosure, I am actually working with Bookbrush now to do a lot of my social media as I build up to my Kickstarter. I do not get anything. I'm not an affiliate with them. So if you guys sign up with them, I don't make any money. Not that I find anything wrong with that. But I just want you guys to know that I really believe in this company. I use them myself. I am very pleased with what they've done and with what I'm able to do on their website. My plan is to come out with quite a few books in the next 2 years, which means quite a few graphics. So we are going to talk to Kathleen Sweeney. She is kind of the lady that's out there on videos. If you want to know more about Bookbrush, she was on the show about a year and a half ago, but you can find Bookbrush on YouTube. I encourage you to go and check out their channel. They talk to you about how to use their software. They're very upfront with teaching you. Kathleen gives webinars all the time trying to teach people how to do things themselves. They give a lot away, as many businesses do. And so don't bulk at the all the offerings that she's here to talk to us about today. For some of you, it will be just information that you need to keep stored in the back of your head for the day that you need it. For some of you, you might realize now that keeping up with social media just isn't worth your time, and it would be a better exchange of money for redeeming that time back to write your books. This is where business comes into this, right? I mean, I know that we're creatives, but we're also business owners. So Here is the interview with Kathleen Sweeney. I think you're going to be really pleasantly surprised about all the things that they have to offer. And honestly, they do things that I hadn't thought about doing. And so you're probably going to want to find, like, stick around and listen to all the things that they do are all things that you can do on BookBrush. Just like you're going to find even more ideas on what to post yourself just by listening to Kathleen. So all the links are in the show notes below. If you decide that you want to do a free consultation, the link is in the show notes below. If you want to have them do your A+ content or whatever it is, the links are in the show notes below. And I just encourage you to check out this business. Let's get into the interview right after you subscribe to the podcast. Share it out with anyone who's like, oh, I can't keep up with my social media. Like, here, listen to Kathleen talk about what BookBrush can do for you. If you could leave a review, if I have some reviews with the 2024, sticker date on there, then it feels more relevant. Thank you all for those who have reviewed. I really appreciate you. Thank you guys for listening. Share it to all your writer friends. And okay, now let's get into the interview. All right, so my guest today is Kathleen Sweeney. I have interacted with her quite a few times. She will give little workshops for BookBrush. She will talk to me about BookBrush. She has convinced me to try BookBrush, and I've become a lover of BookBrush. So thanks, Kathleen, for coming on and giving us like an update to this fabulous company called BookBrush.
Awesome. I am excited to be here. I feel like we're a match made in heaven because Kat and Kathleen, and I go by Kat, with some of
Yeah,
my friends. So it's perfect.
Cat and Cat. We're going to be talking about author marketing and graphics and some things that give authors hives. But
That's what we're here for, to take away your hives. We
yes,
can do the things that don't bring you joy, right?
yes. So before we go into all the new things, let's let anybody know who might not know BookBrush. What is BookBrush and what do you do there?
All right. So, BookBrush itself is an online platform designed specifically for authors to be able to create your own marketing graphics and so many more cool things. We've been in the author space since 2018 and established ourselves, I think, as just a leader of all things graphics with in the author niche. Personally, I've been here since the beginning, and I'm the manager of operations, the marketing director, the janitor, the fun one, all the things. Other duties as assigned. If you book a call, you may be talking to me. If you send a note into the help desk, it may be me who ends up responding as well.
So it's a pretty small company.
It's small company with big dreams.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you go on to bookbrush.com, it doesn't seem small. Like it is a very robust software, I would
I'll
say.
tell you what, we hit 100,000 users this year. So we do have a pretty wide reach in the author space.
Wow, that's very cool. So when you talk about graphics, like maybe somebody's new to writing, or maybe they're just in the midst of writing and they're like, graphics. Why do I need graphics?
And that's exactly the question, because you thought you were writing a book, and here now
Mhm.
you need what? And so that's where BookBrush comes in. You're probably going to want to post about your book on social media, so you don't always know the sizes for Facebook, for Instagram, for TikTok, for Pinterest, all of those things and so many more. We have all the sizes and dimensions and pixels, so you can come in, you can bring in your 2D cover if you already have it, upload that, and then we have tons of templates, thousands even, put together by a graphic designer. You just put your book cover in and then put the kind of promotional wording that you want. So, advertising your book, if it's on sale, a great quote, and then download the graphics. So, shout out for folks who are brand new. You can create a free account and create 15 images at no cost at all. So, that gives you
Mhm.
a little taste and a way to test drive things and create some of those graphics. So that's
Yeah,
what I mean by graphics.
right.
If you also see those 3D versions of folks have out there of their book, like, where did they make it 3D? We have nearly 300 3D versions for your book. So you may see all kinds of ebook versions, phone versions, audio versions. You can put your book in a Polaroid picture. So lots of different things you can do with the cover, like magic.
Yeah, it is really magic. And for anyone who knows Canva, which is like the it's not for authors. It's like really for marketers. That has, I think, maybe one book and mock-up, and it's not great. So like there's
Yeah,
really a
Canva's
difference.
Canva's fine, but it's for everybody. And so when you
Yeah.
come into BookBrush, it was designed specifically for authors. Every time you turn around and everything you see is author specific.
Yep.
And so it's just all the handy things in one marketing toolbox with an
Yep.
author name tag on it.
It has the right shaped stars that I don't have to go looking for. Like here's
Yes,
a five-star
and
review.
on top of that, you can now do gradient color on them. So you can have your review stars match like the colors that are in your book. So you
Ooh.
color pick and gradient color, totally personalized.
Yes, my favorite is that I can um like suction the color from my cover and put it into the background and it matches and I don't have to go looking for that color code.
It's amazing. It's a great way to stay on brand for you and create graphics that aren't clashing. So let's say you've got, a red dress on your cover. All reds are not created equal. You want that
Mm-mm.
same exact amazing red. So color picker for the win.
Yes, yes, I love it. And for anyone new to all of this, it might sound like a lot, but there's tons of videos on bookbrush.com. And like Kathleen said, you can go around and play around with it. There's lots of people on there who have a much better graphic eye than me, let's say. And they've kindly uploaded their templates. There's just so much. You could really spend hours on there, and it you could spend hours, and yet making my graphics yesterday, I think I spent like 15 minutes. Like bump 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 bump, you
Quick
know.
solution. Yep, you could easily do a little holiday photo shoot with your book, drop it into all those
Yeah,
different holiday templates, and now you can flood social media with those kind of seasonal things. People just are in a festive mood. They're probably more likely to share a festive graphic.
right.
So put your book in that kind of scene, put it out there and see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah, it's fairly easy. I mean, even if you haven't tried any of like any Canva or anything like that. So we've established BookBrush and bookbrush.com, and of course links will be below. But BookBrush continually comes out with new things. Like you guys now have like, I mean, I think it was a year ago you had the spine of the books. Like that's amazing because that's one of the hardest things we were told for years. Like, guys, it's really hard. No, but I want the spines of my books right on the graphic, and you guys
And
came
we
out with
heard you,
that.
so we have it.
And like
Yes.
series, you have there's so much there, but you've come out with even more options. So let's talk about these new things from BookBrush that you want to talk about today.
Absolutely. So we have typically focused on a pretty robust offering of do-it-yourself tools,
Okay.
and that's not going anywhere. That's our software side, and we have a lot of people using those. But we also have folks who come into the help desk or maybe on a webinar here and there, and they say, "Can you just do it for me?" And so the answer is yes, there are ways that we can do those things for you. And so we've also expanded our services side. We
Okay.
affectionately call them software and services. They both are part of BookBrush, and I handle a lot of both of them. So if you think about services, that's hiring us to be your VA. We call this hourly concepts because we have different projects that we can do and we price them by the different hours. So
Okay.
I'll just give you one prime example. And I don't know if have you talked much about Amazon A plus content on your channel?
No,
So,
I don't have any because I don't want to do
well,
it wrong.
we can do it for you. So you are in the same boat as a lot of folks. And just I'll step it back. Amazon A plus content are the images in the from the publisher section
Mhm.
on a person's Amazon page. And if you have access to your own KDP dashboard, you can add those yourself. And they're really great because they can call out different tropes and things, add interest to your page. Like, why not put it on there? It doesn't cost any extra for you to add it, but you also want it to be on point, and there are a few things that you need to maybe learn to do it. This is
Mhm.
why people don't have it.
Right.
You can hire us to do it. So
Yes.
we do a large amount of Amazon A plus content. And the reason is because our team knows how to do it. So
Yeah.
that's a 2 hour project. You can buy a package of hours and we can talk about pricing and things like that. But
Okay.
let's say you buy 10 hours, you have that, you can order Amazon A plus. It's kind of neat because you say you've got a series, you can order a set that works for the whole series, or you can do it book specific. where, and you may be familiar with this, but Amazon A Plus usually has 3 stack modules. That's the most popular.
Hmm.
So the top two could be specific to a book, and the bottom module has all the books in your series. So it's brilliant because whatever page your
Yeah.
readers land on, then they see, oh, there are other books. So we can go through and create that for each book in your series.
Right, right. Okay. So when when we're talking about A plus content, like the reason why I don't do it is because I've been told if it looks DIY, it's going to mess up your page. So I haven't, is that sort of what you've heard as well?
So, we don't want to discourage anybody from giving it a go, obviously, but you don't want, when you want to put your best foot forward on Amazon, you don't want them to scroll down and think, huh, does look DIY. And so we have a team of designers on Hourly
Hmm.
Concepts. They're at your fingertips. They do the projects that you don't love or don't have time to do or just want to take off your plate. So this is a perfect example of a place like if you're putting your best foot out there and you want to look professional and well branded, then this might be a project to hire out.
Right, right. And I might not remember the font name on my book cover, but I bet somebody who works in graphics probably knows it pretty well, right? Like it
We are
won't take
font
them long.
nerds over here. We spend all kinds of time thinking about fonts, and I could probably do a whole session with you on fonts. Not that I'm the expert, but I love talking about it. So make sure if you're doing the graphics yourself that I'll send you some links for font pairing blog posts because you want, and you can put them in the bottom. But you want to make sure if you have a thriller book that you have a font that gives off a thriller
Okay.
vibe, those kind of
Right.
things. Like, don't go in and create a graphic that you think looks really lovely and you've used this romancy font, but you've got a sci-fi book or vice versa. So the font
Yeah.
is important so the whole package comes together and looks nice and reels in the right readers. So when your graphic gives off the right message, then it gets in the hands of the right readers. They leave reviews because they were happy, because it matched all the things.
All the things. Yeah. And these are things that we might not think about as authors, right? Like a lot of times I mean, it goes with like book cover. You might think something's really lovely, and I've changed a couple book covers quite a few times. The trends change, but something that I thought looked lovely when I wasn't really in the business yet, turns out it doesn't tell the reader what it was, right? So like that's why we have these.
Exactly. So you may have a cover that is really lovely, but if it's not giving off the right vibes and things for your genre, the person who does buy it may be disappointed because they were anticipating a different kind of story from the cover. And trends are trends because they work. And so you want to be up on those cover trends because that's what people who are looking for this particular type of book will be looking
Mhm.
for.
Okay. So then more than the A plus content, what other things does an author might need a VA for? Like especially for somebody who might not have been thinking that far ahead, or somebody who's like, we feel like we're doing all the things all the time. So what are the things that you can take off of our plates?
I'm going to keep on hourly concepts here first. So
Okay.
it's basically that's a lot of graphic design related things. And
Okay.
I'm just going to talk through verbally some of the other things that we do. So
Yes.
Amazon A Plus is probably our number one thing that people
Interesting.
order. And then secondly would be book trailers. Book trailers are really kind of a cool way to bring your story to life. And they're
Okay.
not super easy to do on your own as a do it yourself option. And that's a 3 hour project. So as we talk about hours and things, and people are budgeting their hours.
Only 3 hours?
Yep,
You can
for
do it
us. So
in
you would
3 hours?
we do. You fill out a little form and tell us so you pretty much want like 3 sentences that are going to tell a story, tell us about the scenery. We need your genre and your blurb. So we pick music that if you've got a happy story or something suspenseful, that the music pairs up and
Right.
then we put it together. They turn out really cool. These are horizontal, they're less than a minute long, and they work really nice on YouTube or on your own author website, those kinds of places.
Okay. Oh,
They're really
interesting.
cool. So that's probably number two on popular things that people are
Interesting.
ordering.
Yeah, because I have tried book trade. Like, there's all these things out there, right? And that people can do really cool things, and you see it on social media, and then you're like, well, I can do that. I know my book inside out. And then you start doing it. And it's like, oh, well, now I need music. Oh, well, I need something that I have the rights to. Oh, then I need what dimensions is it? Oh, I need, like, you realize fairly quickly that it's not for a newbie or for a writer who doesn't have much of graphic design background. It's a lot more than a 3-hour project. I
And
have
guess what
probably
else happened in the meantime? You didn't get your writing done.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're just frustrated. You're like, ah, who cares? I don't need a book trailer,
Carried your
but it's
hair
really
out.
cool.
Yeah, and you ended up without a book trailer and no more words on the page. Like, it's just terrible all the way around. So
Yes,
those are the kind
exactly.
of things that it's like, take, a package of design hours and walk through things that we, might be able to put together for you. So we also do animated book covers. That works out really well because we take your 2D cover and just add
Yeah.
a little bit of animation. It's like magic. I don't really know how they do it because again, I'm the fun one over here, but it turns out really nice. Like, there could be birds or they take
Oh,
something moves, glitter coming down, and they're like 11 seconds long or so. No sound, just pure magic. So animated book covers are a really cool option.
yeah. Especially if you have like an intricate book like cover. Like I've seen some, especially for like horror or thriller. They're very intricate. Like you can bring the eye to certain things. That sounds really
Yes, I have
nice.
one where I'm like, watch this guy's gonna wink, and then he winks like at you, and
Oh, it's like
so
Harry
those,
Potter. Like
yes, yes, very cool.
very cool.
Um, and it's funny that you mentioned Harry Potter, so I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. We also
Okay.
do logo design, and that's a
Okay.
5-hour project, and you get 3 samples and then, 2 complimentary revisions on that, so you really love
Mm,
it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of authors are like, "Oh, well, I already have a logo." However, we also do logos for things in your book. So, like, think of how many people are wearing a Hogwarts or a Gryffindor shirt.
yeah.
There's a logo. So, we did one for an author who has a band in her book, and now she can use that to do merch like keychains and stickers and
Yeah.
cool things. So, if you have a book or a series that has a restaurant that people own or go to all the time, or the company they work for, if that's a central part of your story, think about the options of creating logos for that that you can then use to kind of take the whole thing and take a step further with merch and selling different items and stuff like
Yeah.
that, swag items.
Oh, that sounds very cool. I hadn't thought of that.
I think it's a really cool idea. And the one that we did for the band in the book, then it's like, okay, people are excited about that band that's in the book and she can, coasters, whatever else you want to do for
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Oh,
So there's
fun.
I just piggybacked your Harry Potter comment with that.
Yeah, you got to realize that like that's how you sort of create this fandom, right? Is
Hmm.
having sort of not just the book, but accessibility to like the different, I guess it's like the book boyfriends and like so there's
Yes.
series, of different male characters and they'll choose their favorite or whatever. So yeah, if you can just keep that going, right? Your fans
Right,
will be
right.
happy.
Make it easier for them to get those kind of things and, have maybe you do it, sell them or take them to in-person shows. You could either sell them or hand them out, whatever, those kind of
Yeah.
things. But it's kind of
Yeah.
fun. So there's
Yeah,
something
it's
with
really fun.
logo design besides just getting your own logo done. You could do something like that with your books. Couple other things. We do a lot of social ads, and you can do those yourself in BookBrush, but sometimes you want somebody with a design eye. We do a lot of BookBub ads because they're super tiny. They're 300 by
Oh.
250 pixels, which a lot of people know, but you need to pack a lot of knowledge into that teensy size. And so that's just a 1 hour project, but we can do BookBub ads for you too.
Oh, interesting.
And of course, Facebook and Instagram, you'll just tell us the what you need it for.
And that's interesting because making an ad is different or should be different from making a social media post. And like, I don't think we always realize this until it flops. So I learn a lot by failure. Like
Don't we
you,
all? Yeah.
yes, you put it out there, you think, well, I'll do it, or oh, I landed a BookBub ad or whatever. Like, oh, now I have to make this. And then and you learn by realizing, okay, this isn't working or hasn't caught anyone's eye or that ad did something different than my ad, right? Like there's just it's different language, it's different graphics, it's different.
So you can have a design team who can do those things for you, and you can still do the fun things that you're enjoying
Yeah.
doing that you're maybe just posting in general on Instagram, but the ads you might use differently.
Yeah. Yeah. So BookBub, Facebook, social, all the social medias. Are they coming out with more? They
Yes.
probably are.
Yes. A couple other things just to throw in there that we've done and we do think are pretty fun. So we also have done movie posters. So we take your
Ooh,
book and make it into a movie poster like the cover. So the
okay.
characters, like think about when you go to the theater, you have the characters listed on the movie poster, the stars of the show, those are the characters in your book. It's produced by you. You could list your editor if you want to, and then we say like created by Brush Media Group, so it seems like movie-ish. And then you'll get that digitally, so you could use it as a reward if you're doing a Kickstarter or something like that. You could give it to your fans digitally. You could print it and put it behind you, so it looks really cool
Yeah.
when you're on. So it's just a different way to take your book to a different level and create some excitement.
Yeah, that sounds cool. And if we continue to do an in-person events, that seems like a really nice thing to have like at your stand or at your table or whatever, like and a little bit different,
It's
than
unique. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's fun.
speaking of in person, we also design the retractable banners that you may want, and it could be the full size or the tabletop. And sometimes those have your actual picture on them. We can do QR codes if you want that, which is kind of a good idea on the printed materials.
Right.
But you're not always sure where to get those done. And if you're already using BookBrush or familiar with us, like we're going to create a nice author centric retractable banner.
Yes, not not just Staples. I think that's the only other place I know to get it. It's like every time I work with them, I'm always like, no, that's not what I want.
Well, and we'll deliver. You'll still have to go get it printed somewhere, but
Yeah.
the design work is done by a
Yes.
designer, so you have
Yes.
that under your belt. So I think those are just a lot of the highlights of things that we do. You can buy a la carte hours. So if you know
Hmm.
you just want one book trailer, you can just buy 3 hours and you're on
Okay.
your way. But you can also buy packages that either renew monthly. So we have some folks who buy like 5 or 10 hours a month and it just renews monthly. I can tell
Okay.
when they have their new hours drop in because here come their projects. I know that I think they have like their little battle rhythm or strategy like, oh, this month I'm going to do Amazon A plus and a movie trailer or book trailer for this book. Next month is this. And so I see it come along and they're just building up their branding month by month over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, especially if you have a back catalog, like you probably can't afford to do it all at once. So you just like book one, book two,
For
book three,
sure.
right? Like whatever you
And
can do.
if you have a couple different series, an affordable way to get started with the Amazon A Plus is just do a set of each for by series. So maybe the first one has 5 books in it, so you have all 5 books in the bottom module, and the text pertains to all of them. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't have a book,
Oh,
but from
yeah.
what I'm told, when you go to post it on Amazon, there's a button to click that says apply it to all the books in the series, and it's done.
Nice.
So that
Okay.
can be a way to really beef up your presence on Amazon and how that looks. But if it's in a series, then the same Amazon A plus, if it's series specific, will work nicely.
Yeah.
And that way, all of a sudden, look, Steve, they've got Amazon A plus content all over the place.
Right. Right. And if you want, it can be a placeholder for a while until you can get all of them or just leave them like that. See what works.
Absolutely. Either
Very
one.
cool. Okay. So you're not cheating if you do that.
Far as I'm concerned, no, I think it's smart. I mean, in a perfect world where we all have buckets of money, we would have all the things. But if you
Right.
want some Amazon A plus, and you may have a book series that has 10 books, well,
Oh,
that
that's a
would
lot.
really take a lot, but we can put them all in that, and then you can at least promote the whole series with that.
Yeah,
So, not
absolutely.
cheating, no, smart.
Smart. Smart business decision. Yes.
Yes, yes.
So this VA, this goes by hours. So you guys have already decided how many hours each project takes. So there's no like surprises there. It's I'm buying the 2 hours and that's for my Amazon A plus content and I will definitely get it within that 2 hours because sometimes that doesn't happen when you hire
So,
VAs.
let me explain. It's 2 hours of design time that you're paying for, but when you submit the project, it usually can take up
Right.
to a week for you to get it back. You don't
That's
have it
like
back
the
in 2 hours.
pricing of it, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
priced by the hours. So, well, I'll make sure you have the links for all these things.
Okay.
So, for hourly concepts, there's a portfolio and a pricing menu so you can look through. Um, what you might need hours wise for your wish list and then kind of pare it down and see what you'd want to purchase. And
Yeah.
that's just hiring us for those, extras to make
Yeah.
yourself look a little more polished. And then you can still use
Okay.
BookBrush for the other things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I meant, like, no, definitely not 2-hour turnaround time, but you're not like a building a house contractor where they come back and say, by the way,
Well,
this
you
is
wanted the
gonna cost.
porcelain fixtures, right? Uh, no, we
We're
do
gonna charge you
offer.
more.
Yeah, revisions at the end, if you want changes to it, we can do those, and those are 30 minutes, but we talk about it, and that's
Sure.
just if you got the project back and then all of a sudden you're like, "You know what would really be cool? Some
Yeah.
smoke." "Okay, well, we can add that.
Yeah.
Just tell us where and we'll put it in."
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So it's pretty straightforward. You buy the package and you go from there. You're contacted from with BookBrush, you fill out the forms or how, and then
Yep,
you
so the
actually talk
hours drop
personally?
in. So, you'll notice it when you go into BookBrush the next time. Down on the left-hand side, it says hourly concepts. So you can shop around from
Mm.
there. When you have hours, you'll be able to see them, and then you can
Oh,
request projects whenever you want to.
okay. Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
We
So
want it
then,
to be easy and user friendly. So they'll just
yes.
drop in and then you fill out the form. And the other thing that's nice is you can look at the form and not submit. It doesn't deduct any hours, but you can think about, like, what am I going to put in there? Because it helps, the more you tell us. And really, I think this is because working with authors, you guys are so good at writing. You can write us a little book about what you want to see in your book trailer, and then we will bring it to life.
Exactly. Take your time, write it up. The more details, the better. And
Yeah, yeah.
honestly, that's good to note to people too, because I think the disconnect a lot of times is between writers and graphic designers, and like whether it's your book cover, whatever, the author does need to put a little thought into what they want, right? Like you cannot go to a designer and be like, make it for me. Like they need some sort of, what is
Well,
the
we didn't
genre?
read the
What's
book,
going
so we
on?
don't
Right.
know how much blood there is or how steamy it is or whatever the case
Right.
may be.
Right.
So we need to know if you picture handcuffs and some police lights or if you have a rolling meadow and a mountain view. So those things you'll need
Yes.
to give us a little direction and then we can certainly bring it to life for you.
Yes. Yes. So it's a little bit of work on the author side, but it's also, honestly, it's work that they probably should have already done or have already done. So just
True, true.
FYI there. So it is that the entire, that is the what's that called on the, that's called the hourly concepts?
Yep, that's called
Okay.
hourly concepts, and I'll make sure we have special links for you to put in the notes for that to show folks that. And then the other um, service that we've been offering here lately is the full service social media management. So I
Oh,
was going to
let's talk
jump
about
into
that.
that unless you have any other questions on the hourly
No.
concept side.
So let's talk about the full service. What does that,
So
what
this
does
is
that
for
mean?
social media management. This is
Ooh.
basically for those folks who are so busy writing, but they need to be well branded out there on social media, and they're not necessarily because they don't have time. So
Mhm.
we would literally take the wheel and handle your social media posting. So we post on Instagram and Facebook. We post 6 times a week, and we are creating unique content for you. So,
Mhm.
because we're established in the author niche, and we follow a lot of trends and things like that. Like if people are posting those adorably flirty arrows with tropes called out, then we will do the same. Those
Yeah.
kind of graphics, they're created just for you and um in a folder that you can access later. So it's extra content for you down the road. Of your 6 posts a week, 2 are going to be reels. So you've got those. Those are great because phones are vertical. People are watching those, and they're just a different kind of grab for people.
Okay.
You'll also have access to those after. So if you want to post for YouTube or TikTok, there's extra content, 2 pieces of content per week that you could use over
Wow.
there too. The consistency is important. I know people are probably not sitting there saying, well, did Kat post today? But if they're used to you posting daily, it's like that warm hug. And if you think about, it's almost like a job interview. Like if I was interviewing for a job, people will come check me on social media. If people want to read my book, they're going to
Mhm.
come look for me on social media. If I
Yeah.
don't have anything out there or I don't have much, like, when a friend tells me about a book, what do? I look at the author on social media. If I'm wowed by the branded content and it looks really cool, I'm like, okay, yeah, let me engage. So I think that's what we want to bring to the table for authors who are busy writing, they're putting out tons of books. Maybe their social media doesn't match where they're at with, the number of books they have out there. Let us bring that along for you.
Yeah, yes, because let me tell you, so many times trends come and I'm like, oh, gotta get on the trend. Oh, I gotta do something. So it's it's not even that I dislike it. It's just a lot. It's a
Well, in
lot. It
6 days a week, the consistency.
right.
And we also dedicate an hour a week, which ends up being like 10 minutes a day, engaging and answering the comments. So that way there is that consistency of that part too. So we hope that with creative content and consistent posting and us watching the trends and SEO and hashtags that there is more chatter and there is more
Okay.
interaction. But if you're not answering that, then it may not continue. So
Right.
what we do is follow the same pattern of the author. So we'll if you're a hashtag answerer, or if you like emojis, we'll throw them in there. If you're going to say, bro, thanks, we will put that kind of comment. So your old soul lingo will have that kind of lingo. We'll learn your
Yeah.
lingo. So um, getting in there and just making sure there's interaction and engagement that continues.
Okay,
And then
so go ahead. Sorry.
we track how it's going. So if there's something that was hot, we will do that again. And if it was not, then we
Oh.
wouldn't do that.
Well, that's another thing. Yes, you should be tracking what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and this is where like it gets so complicated, right? Because if you are, so everyone has their different reasons why they're always running behind in America. But I have three kids and the writing and the coaching and the podcast, and that is my excuse for why I'm always running behind. But you're bringing up a valid point of like that I admire authors where they're constantly talking about their book, and my personality finds that really hard. Like just thinking of it seems easy, right? When you look at other authors and you're like, yeah, I could do that. And a lot of times I'll sit down to make graphics and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I
Well,
want to
and
do.
we will meet with the author and learn their vibe and their aesthetic, and then we will take the wheel. And it's also just creating a story. So it's not just
Mm,
sell, 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 because that could be off-putting. So there will be graphics with a call to action and selling and talking about your book. But if your book has a seaside, then we may just have an image with a seaside type of scene with a quote, or if there's quilts, we'll have that with just some wording from the book. We create 10 different log lines and things per week and then rotate them through. So there's also just a
interesting.
bit of a storytelling element, not just buy the book, buy the book, buy the book.
Right, right. Which can really be the disconnect there because it does take energy. It takes creative thought and energy to put that together where it's like the sales copy and then the story copy and then the just like talking and interacting. It's so many things.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's why we want to help authors who, they know they probably want to be out there more, but it just isn't happening. And
yeah.
it's the thought like someone else can do that. And then if you do sign in, it's humming along. How nice is that?
Yes, yes, no kidding. Oh my goodness. You almost have me sold here. I'm gonna sign up.
Yeah, so I do have that's a longer process. So we don't that's not just something you hit the buy button. We
Yeah.
do a consultation, we meet with you. So I'll make sure you have our calendar linked so folks can sign up for just exploring how that works or
Oh,
look
okay.
more at that. We start off with a consultation meeting and go through because it's just something people have a lot of questions about before we
Sure.
would get all signed up.
Sure.
Um, and then we go from there.
Okay. Okay. So if somebody's thinking like maybe their book just came out or they're just starting out, like maybe six times a week sounds like a lot to them. Is there a reason behind why you guys do six times a week? Post six times a week?
Yes, because the consistency and all that, like it's so we track your number of followers and your reach and your engagement, and it's harder
Mhm.
to do with just these sporadic posting. And just to kind of take a step back. So followers, I think we all figure out those are the people who followed.
Yeah.
The reach are the people who walked by and looked in the window, and then the
Mm.
engagement are the people who opened the door and came into the shop or that kind of thing. So
Okay.
we want those to both increase, but we could increase your reach all over the place, but if nobody engaged, that didn't, get you where you wanna be. It's like you could
Okay.
drop leaflets from an airplane over the whole entire town, but if no one picks them up, then you really you didn't engage anyone.
Yes.
So, I think the reason that we're posting 6 days a week so we can really get a feel for how that's going and people are expecting
Sure.
it, and your super fans or your rabid fans are going to engage because they're seeing consistency posting. It's not like they don't expect, like, oh, is there going to be one today, or I don't think she
Yeah.
posts much.
Yeah.
It's always there, like
Yes.
clockwork. There's your brand loyalty.
Yeah, and you almost can't find rabid fans, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how many times I see an author as I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, that looks like a great book. And then if you don't engage, which many times I'm like, oh, I have to go do something else. It's hard to find that person, right?
Yes.
Unless they pop up again.
So I do agree with what you're saying. It might be a lot if you have just one book and that's the only thing that we can post about. But we do have some folks who have several series or we're working through their backlist and we work with them each month to see either if they've got a new release, then obviously we're going to ramp that up, but we may work backwards on some other things. So it does suit folks who have several books for sure.
Yeah. Well, I would even say for anyone, so a couple weeks ago, I interviewed a new author. And the reason, I mean, I usually have people on who have published at least 3 books, but because he had done such a great job engaging on TikTok, his debut book was super successful. Just like
That's awesome.
incredibly, like he became full-time author, boom, 1 book. And it took that consistent posting for, and he said he gave himself 9 months to do it, but 9 months is nothing in the scheme of life if you can become a full-time author with 1 book. And I, of course, he had like the next one almost ready to go, and then the third, but like, but that's consistent, and it was 6 times a week, you know.
Yep. So the
So
consistency is what gets you that loyalty, I think. And that's why we would want to be that. And we're watching the times and see. So we can tell we would schedule it in your only about a week out because you don't want to be too far because things change. But we
oh,
can
okay.
see in the Meta Business Suite what are your best times, your optimal times when your particular fans are engaging because the people who read your books might be looking at a different time than the people who read these other books. So we've got
Oh,
different, you know, I don't know.
okay.
Who says the people that read sweet, cozy romance look at their phones at a different time than the people reading the thrillers? I don't know, but they can
maybe
tell us that. Meta Business can
maybe
tell
by
us that.
age.
All the
Maybe.
things, yeah. So it can just help you. Maybe that's what people scroll at lunch or wherever your fans happen to be, and those are the best times.
Sure.
We get the most reach and potential engagement, then those are the times we're going to hit moving forward.
Sure, sure. And I was actually talking to someone yesterday about this, and like it's a constant frustrated talk. Like if anyone that has a couple books out, I'm sure the majority of them are with me on it, where it's just like it's coming up with ideas, then it's actually following through on them because I don't know how many times I have an idea and I just haven't had time to do it. But then in the idea realm, my friend yesterday was like, "Yeah, but you should also be talking about yourself. You should also be talking about your passions. You can't, like you said, you can't always be sales, right? It can't always just be about your book. Like your fans are looking for more." I was like, "Oh, that's so much." I
Well,
just
you
need
are your brand, so you also need to, if that's what people are looking for. I was just doing a session on animated email signatures, which is something else you can make in BookBrush, but we were
Ooh.
talking about those. I'm like, put yourself on there because you are your brand. My hip tip there, this is such a fun random thing. In BookBrush, if you bring in your picture of yourself, I'm like, get a picture of yourself in a white t-shirt. Okay, here's why this is awesome. Each time you're making something different, you can make yourself in a holiday top. So if you need a shamrock on it, just lay it on there. If you need hearts, all of a sudden, every holiday, you are on point. And
That's so
somebody put in
funny.
the comments of the webinar, everyone's off to buy a white shirt. But it's not anything like maybe it's a little outside the box. It's not hard to do, but it's just
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, yeah, most people probably have a white shirt. And then you just put that thing on there. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and I had not thought of that at all.
Not a lot of people did. I got a lot of ooh. In fact, I may do a YouTube video just on that because it's really
Yes.
kind of different.
Well, and that's where it comes in, right? Like if you are in the graphics area, if you're in BookBrush, you're talking to graphics people, you're always interacting, Kathleen, with other authors. That's where your brain is going to brainstorm, right? And just the author sitting in their office or their closet or wherever they're allowed to write, they're they're not in that atmosphere of like,
Well, they're writing their book. They're
yeah.
plotting their story or they're pantsing, whichever they are. Maybe they're pantsing their story, but either way, they've got to get that book done so they can get it to the editor on time. They don't have time to think through these other things. That's why we try to get creative
Yes,
on our
yes.
side.
That's amazing because that I think is where like the brain, I always feel like this, it has to click into a whole different mode of thinking, right? Like I'm doing my book here and now I have to go into Instagram here. And all I can think about is like stuff pertaining to, oh my gosh, I didn't write enough today, or my book is driving me crazy, which isn't great either, right? Like you have to have other graphics. Um, so what made you guys start doing, like, because you started out as a DIY, what made you start doing things for authors? Is it because of people like me complaining about how hard it is?
The authors tend to take us where we should be, whether we know it or not. You know, we sit around and think up what we're going to do next, but then it's also a function of what the authors ask for. You know, they
Mm,
wanted to be able to, um, do these different things. Originally, we didn't have a way to create your own covers in BookBrush. Guess what authors wanted? They wanted to be able to create their own covers. So we also have a cover creator. And then they like using the tools, but they were like, "That Amazon A plus, I'm not real sure." And so we're like, we could have designers that do that kind of thing. We have designers. They're creating the templates and things like that anyway. So we really just want to be there for authors in
okay.
all different parts of their writing journey and walks. And there's so many. It's a wide range. And so wherever you are in that journey, there's probably something book brushy for you, and that's where we want to be. So I
Yeah.
think that's why we just thought we could help more people.
Yeah, absolutely. So if somebody's thinking that they want to, so for the social media management, you sign up for a consultation first before
Yeah,
anything
because
else?
it's just so involved. Like, there's a lot to talk about to
Okay.
see if you'd want us to do it. We love doing those. It's with me. So I'll make sure you have the calendar, and our social media management page right at the bottom says book a call. So you can hop in with me and we can explore. We have groups starting each month. So get people set up because we have to have time to meet with you, make sure
Hmm.
it's not like, oh, how about tomorrow? We'll take over. Nope, we want the graphics ready to make sure they're on brand for you. We've learned about you enough about you that it
Sure.
will feel like a seamless fit, not somebody just playing over there.
Okay. And so with the call, is that free?
Yep, free call.
Oh,
Yep. So just you would hop on our it's a Calendly link and you
sure.
can book a session with me so we can just talk through how it would go and the
Yeah.
pricing and all that stuff. So it's $4.99 a month and it starts with a 3-month contract because we can't just do it for, a month and see enough movement. You need to
Yeah.
track it. And we get all involved. We become you a little bit.
Yeah.
Not in a creepy way, but we want to know enough about you that we can make it really reflect you and your brand and bring you along to where you deserve to be on social media.
Yeah. And honestly, that gives you the time to see what are the results of it, what has changed because of it. Like if you can't post consistently 6 times a week, what might change if you actually could? Like
Well,
what
think about you can't it's the part that you can't measure. Some people are like, "Well, I'm not sure I get a lot of sales from social media," but you don't know how many people looked and thought, "Oh, there wasn't really anything."
yeah.
And having that brandedness out there is just so cool, and you don't wanna miss out. Like, you
Yeah.
you could just be missing out.
It's very true. Like we do have assumptions, right? Well, social media doesn't sell anything. Well, I don't know. I've talked to quite a few authors now through TikTok, and not through selling through TikTok, but becoming present on TikTok. They sold books that most likely would not have reached the sales that they reached without it. So like it's it
Exactly.
it is difficult to measure. in a group setting, you definitely have to see that for yourself. It's an investment in your business of like what moves the needle. Like, and you need the data. Data to me is very boring, but you cannot deny that that is the only real way to make a decision on whether it's worth it, right?
Yep. So that's why we do a
Mm.
3-month contract to start. So you have enough time to see the changes and the growth. And it's exciting. Plus, just watching the magic happen and you didn't do the things. I mean, you gave us the covers and the fodder and some of that, but
Sure.
then having it just rolling along, it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reels. Oh my gosh, if you make reels, like,
Yes, yes, we do. And they're cool. And people just engage with those differently because the music, all that together,
Mhm.
it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it is. That sounds very interesting. So, does somebody have to be a customer of BookBrush as like a DIY of the software to hire you for the social media management?
Super good question, and the answer is no, you can be in any of those without the other, because who knows what's the right fit. So if you aren't using BookBrush, for DIY because you just don't have the time to do any of the things yourself, you might be the perfect person for the social media management because
Mhm.
that's why you need us to do those things. Um, maybe I mean, there could be a variety of reasons, but the answer is you could have any pieces and parts of those. We will love you wherever you come in.
Yes, that's good. That's good to know
Yeah.
as we come in crying. So for their first consultation, what should they bring with them other than themselves?
We have them when they book it, give us their existing Facebook page and Instagram page if they have it already, so that
Mhm.
we can kind of get a feel for that. And just bring their list of questions like, how would this work? And I talk through all of that. Then, if they're interested in moving forward, our next call, we actually create some of the sample content that would be branded for them. So, the first one is learning a little bit more about them.
Okay, okay.
So
So
they just bring themselves, their smile, open mind, and I just need to know, more about like what if they have a release coming up, what their timing might be, what we should focus on for if they're interested in continuing for the next steps. And actually starting out, what book should we work with first so we can create some of those images. So I think that helps you decide, yeah, I want to do it because I saw those and they looked really good. I'm in.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So, and you said that they have to like the timeline's about a month like into the new month or
So we start them they would start just so it's not like, "Oh, Cat was on the 8th and this person was here." They all start on the 1st of the month. But what we've been doing is lining people up for like 2-week trial on the 15th of the month. So we're kind
okay.
of doing little classes in bunches so that it seems very organized. And I feel like that instills some confidence in the authors coming in so it doesn't feel like a rush process. It's like, "Oh, okay, I've seen my samples. I want to go for the 2 weeks, and then within that 2 weeks, then they can decide if they're going to do the contract, and it's pretty smooth.
Okay. Okay.
Nobody
Very cool.
feels rushed and stressed out because we have like a little video to show you how to give us access to your Facebook and your Instagram. Not everybody knows how to do that. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
you may not even know your password. Hopefully you have it somewhere, but like we need access to that, but we don't want you
Okay.
up at midnight rushing to get that done. So there's
Sure.
video on how to give us access, and we need to get access, and we learn about you
Okay.
and move the process. So, we take calls all throughout the month because different people have releases at different times. So it's never a
Sure.
bad time to chat about it. And then we can see what the next dates and openings are.
Okay. And would you recommend like if they have a book coming out? I guess they kind of need a couple weeks at least to get it really moving, right? So if you have a book coming out, you might want to book a call soon.
Sooner rather than later, so we can see what would be a good fit. And if because to do a big ramp up, you can promote a book for months beforehand. I mean, you're a guy with the 9 months on TikTok, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, it just depends. But definitely sooner rather than later so we can just see how the fit would work. And there may be they have the first one set, but they don't know the dates of the next ones. We can work through those kinds of things or work on their backlist in between.
Sure, sure. And then what if somebody is sporadic in posting? They still enjoy posting. Are they like not allowed to touch anything anymore, or are they allowed to
Oh,
go in and
no, they
post?
can still, and this is another thing about you or your brand. So you have a couple options. If people like to see your cat pictures or you in your Halloween costume, or if you have like a really nice dinner, some authors post about that. You still can. So you retain the ability to do that. Or we have a client drop folder that you can put in if you want us to post that it's your birthday. We can do that too. It would just that'd be your post for the day when you want it
Mm,
in there. So we usually
okay.
need, just like for when we're preparing your content for the next week or two, if you want something, you would let us know. And I guess we could post your cat pictures too, but that seems like something you might want to just
Yeah,
still.
you might want to just do it, right?
Yeah, if
So
that's what your readers have been, and your followers love about you, that's authentically you, you can still put those things in for sure.
sure, sure. So I would just encourage people, if you find that part easy, like posting about your life and your cat, and that's part of your brand, but you find selling your book or talking about, like, I don't know, that it seems to be this thing with authors of like, I could talk about everyone's book and I feel weird talking about my own. That's probably where you would hand it
Let
over
us
to Book
talk about your
Brush
book. Yes, and
and
we'll do
let
it
them
in such
brag.
a nice way that's creating a story. So
Yeah.
there are other graphics and words, like maybe it's just like no one knew they were there with a suspenseful image, that
Hmm.
might pertain to that book, and it builds some excitement. And if you're watching and you're like, oh, that, or you're looking at it, it makes sense. But it's not just like a hot sale, like buy now you know
Exactly.
so we'll mix
Exactly.
it in.
I love that. I love that. So those are very cool things for 2024. Do you guys, is there anything else you want to talk about before we
No, I
wrap up?
think those
Yeah.
were all my everything on my post-it note we did.
Yay. So it's the beginning of February, so it's definitely not too late to get your social media or your A plus content, or maybe make a book trailer. Maybe if you need to start out smaller, you do the hourly concepts. If you want to go big, book that consult for the social media management, and we'll have all the links below in the show notes.
Thanks so much for having me on today.
Thanks, Kathleen. Always come back whenever BookBrush makes new things, because we want to hear about it.